And once again, welcome to Hoops Hidden Gems podcast. Want to apologize for that technical difficulty. We got it worked out. We're good to go now. As we were saying before, episode number 63 in the building. Want to thank everybody for tuning in with us as usual. I'm your host, David Jones. We got our special guest, the man, the myth, the legend, the creator of it all, Madre Allen, with the Love of the Game Network. How you doing today, brother?
Hey man, you kill me with these intros, bro. There's no myth, certainly no legend, but I am present and accounted for. You know what I mean?
Hey man, listen, these last 2-3 weeks have been a blur. We've been all over the place. We've been working on a bunch of stuff. This month still has a lot more to do this month. Visits, phone calls, late nights, a little bit of everything. But, you know, if it wasn't something we didn't like doing, man, we wouldn't be here. And, man, high school basketball is a month away, 30 days.
Wow.
30 days.
That came up on us quick. Normally high school basketball starts like after my birthday. So at least I typically get my birthday to kind of chill out, but not this year.
Hey man, listen.
It's early.
I feel like it was over. We got a small break. Yep. Fall league kicked right in in August, and man, it kicked in at the end of August. Say it again.
I said, you know my feelings about fall league.
Stall about.
You already know my thoughts. Let GHSA, if you're listening to the show, please allow high school coaches to coach in fall league.
Now, okay. Yes, I agree with that. Definitely.
Okay. That's all I'm saying. Don't force the varsity coach to coach. You know, an assistant, whoever is coaching JV, maybe. Allow the freshman coach. Continue to groom your freshman coach and pour into your freshman coach. Allow them to do it. But let's cut the community coaches, the dads, the assistants who don't know your plays, can't run your system. Like, what are we doing?
Hey, I take that offensively.
Here we go. Some dads are equipped to do this and have experience. Some do not.
But no, to his point, listen, I've officially announced my retirement from coaching as of yesterday. As a dad, I did have to help out the coach yesterday. Shout out to Lakeside Vikings for actually putting on a pretty good performance and don't look like a doormat this year.
Hey, you did like Kyrie, though. You retired again. I'm done. Nah, no vaccine. I'm not playing.
Hey, man, listen. My voice is still a little raspy from yesterday. But also, man, hey, let me say this as well. Shout out to Chris Watkins, man. Shout out to him, man. I mean, great event. 40 high school teams for a fall league jamboree. Listen, man, we talk about this all the time, and this is no shade to any other state. Man, what Georgia's doing on a basketball level, I mean, yes, everybody knows Georgia is a football state, yes. But what Georgia's doing on a basketball level, on a national, we got one of the best high school live periods in the country. There's no argument about that. Now we have a fall league jamboree that is very formidable. We shout out the CB Hoops that has the JUCO jamboree, runs that out of West Georgia every year. We always got the man, Sean Williams, who runs one of the best independent circuits in the country. And pretty much every shoe association stops in either Atlanta or the Georgia area, plain and simple. Under Armour comes to Lake Point every year. If you don't know Peach Jam, you're living under a rock in Augusta. You know, and Adidas comes in and out because they're fighting between, you know, those two trying to get in here and get an event. But listen, yes, Georgia is here when it comes to basketball, talent-wise and facility-wise and event-wise. Georgia's here. We can give you JUCO, we can give you AAU, we can give you high school, however you want it. We can give it to you. We can step up and give you 30 as a state, definitely. And you know, it takes more than just. It's not one person. It's a basketball community statewide, and we say that with pride. You know, yes, you know, there's other states. Listen, DC is, even though they're not a state, listen, they do their thing up there. Every coach knows you need to stop through DC. Everybody knows about Texas. Texas does their thing. Amazing. I just came from Texas. I was out there for one of the best JUCO jamborees yearly in the state. You know, Florida, amazing athletes. You know, we know about New York, Chicago, LA, but, you know, let's not get it twisted. Georgia is one of the basketball meccas, and they're here to stay right now because you have so many people from other states that are here. And that's what makes it a melting pot and makes it tough. You got guys that come from Chicago that get on the map. You got guys that come from Tennessee, Alabama, Florida, and South Carolina that get on the map. And that's what makes this so good. The only thing that I would say we're still not there yet, but trust we're coming, is on that post-grad side. TSF is here. We have some other programs that are up and coming as well. And that's really the only thing Georgia is not quite there yet, but they will be very soon, especially the way TSF and some of these other programs like CBA, shout out to JB and them who run a great program over there. And we have some newcomers as well that, you know, we want to wait and see how everything, you know, turns out in a year or so. But there's some great programs that are going to make some noise because this post-grad and even the JUCO side, you know, shout out to Georgia Highlands, shout out to Central Georgia, shout out to South Georgia. Listen, don't y'all chop my head off because I'm not going to name every last JUCO in Georgia, but Georgia's building up their JUCO as well. Now, it's taking some time. We're not Texas, Florida, or the Midwest yet, or even California JUCOs, but in due time, I feel like we'll be there as well. And it's one place coaches will show up. They'll show up for live period. They'll show up for high school live period. I mean, even Scott Golden has his JUCO event here in July that has 300 coaches. We have the JUCO live period down in Columbus State, 200 plus coaches. Like, from a formidable standpoint, Drake, you know it just as well as I know. Like, we both are from other states and we moved down here as transplants. There's some great basketball down here, man. Great basketball.
Yeah, man, you just absolutely covered it. You know, you can get pretty much whatever that you're looking for, and those are going to be very well covered and professionally run. I think if you come down here and you attend a bad event, you know, it's kind of hard to do. You know what I mean? There are some bad events, right? But I would just say, hey, man, check your circle. You're probably not plugged in because, you know, it's hard to miss, you know, with some of the events and the event operators that are here and the people who put their time, energy, and effort into providing a platform for kids in the same way that you do. It's really hard to miss. So this event, I will put right up there with Chris Watkins' event, with any, you know, Sean Williams event. I will put your event right up there with those as far as how it was ran and the competition that was there.
I appreciate that. But, man, you know, one of the big things, as I was just saying, as, you know, we were coming in with our introduction, is really getting this post-grad to the point of where it needs to be from a Georgia standpoint, because in Georgia, there's going to be that expectation. We don't want it to be ran second class, and we want the smoke to come from other states as well. So, and that's the whole idea of this event, to build it to where it's one of the mecca of the post-grad events nationwide, that people, I mean, people already know Atlanta from an array of things. They know it from basketball, but, and, you know, of course, coming down here from entertainment as well. But we want to keep it going with what Chris and what Sean and everybody else is doing on the event side. And shout out to my guy, Jerome, who runs one of the best tip-off tournaments in the country in March every year. And, you know, there's no argument on that. Like, Jerome is hands down, he does his thing as well. And that's where we want to get with this, you know, with this post-grad side. And, you know, and all of us know each other. You know, we know Jerome, we know CB, of course we know Sean. And, you know, it's really taking this and getting to the standard that they have set to take this to the next level. And I feel like this year was a good step in the right direction. You know, we had some teams. We had teams from 6 different states and Canada. We had 17 teams. You know, we had 14 coaches that came out this year. And, you know, thank you to those guys that came out and supported. Next year, we're trying to really knock it out the box. And, you know, we feel like the media is one of the things from a post-grad jamboree side that we're going to add to this to really give it that Atlanta flavor. And people are like, hey, man, Atlanta's doing some things down there. And, you know, man, and, you know, even with Love of the Game Network, for you guys that don't know about Love of the Game Network, man, it's coming. And if you don't know, I won't even use the biggie, now you know, but you're going to find out real quick with Love the Game Network, with the content, with the shows mixed in with these events, you know, with post-game interviews, with, you know, the mixes of highlights, and us doing post-game highlight shows. We're trying to make a big difference with this post-grad to really take it, because whether you like it or not, post-grad is here to stay, and it's going to mix in with JUCO. And everybody sees the, you know, the background of how this is going. You see all the event operators that run JUCO jamborees, they're starting to slowly let post-grads in. Now, that doesn't mean any old mom and pop post-grad is going to get in. I'll take Jerry Mullins' event, first year. He let Linkier in this year, Dre. Let Linkier in his JUCO event.
Wait, this is the first year?
First year, guy. First year. Yeah. Now, you know, Scott pretty much took the business model like, okay, y'all can play, but y'all gonna play on court 4 through 8. You know what I'm saying? Like, the JUCOs play here, post-grads, y'all play over here. And every once in a while, he'll let the main attraction post-grad games on to like court 6 or court 5, you know what I'm saying? He'll let them over there. But in general, you're in 5 through 8 over there, which is not a bad thing because there's still coaches over there. You know what I'm saying?
Fox Sports South court. That's Fox Sports South, FS1 court.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? You know, but at the big house, court. Listen, the big house, man, the big house is right under Lake Point, bro. That's one place you got to get to, Dre. It's nice. It's real nice. You pull up, there's palm trees outside. I was like, oh, man, it's nice. Okay. That's right outside of Orlando. And, you know, they do a good job down there. And like I said, it's those details that you pay attention to. You know, like I said, he lets the post-grads in. And he's very strict on that, you know, and rightfully so, because, you know, sometimes post-grad can get a dirty name. You'll hear people call post-grads that don't have schools affiliated with them. They'll be called club teams, unfortunately. And, you know, that's all debatable for a whole nother show, because I can understand it from both ways. Like, yes, there are some post-grads that are just getting up and started, and sometimes they only have the online part of it. They may not have a brick and mortar. And I have no problem with that as well, because if you have the online part, but if you're connected to a 4-year or 2-year school, Have no problem with that at all, because then I can make a call to the enforcement committee at the NCAA and they'd be like, yes, they're good to go. And that's what this all comes down to. But in the same sentence, I don't want to see that team, that AAU team from July's live period, and they all playing together and they didn't change their T-shirts around. You know what I'm saying? Or the tank tops. You'd be like, man, I just seen them. You know what I mean? Because we cover more than just post-grad. So we see AAUs, we see JUCOs, and you'd be like, man, so instead of being called, you know, we'll speak for Georgia Man Up because that's the organization that we represent. It'd be GAM Prep. You see what I'm saying? You'd be like, come on, man. Y'all stop it. You know what I'm saying? No classes going on whatsoever. And then in the same sense, you'll have people out here, you know, kind of making a mockery of it. Now, listen, shout out to everybody that's making an attempt to do this right. And yes, sometimes it does take a moment to get everything in order. I'm talking about none of you guys whatsoever, but the ones that are just blatantly doing this wrong, come on, fellas, like this is a stain. If we're going to try and do this right, let's do it right, because, you know, you got the granddaddy of them all, the NETSAC. Until this is ran right, they will never consider playing you guys, ever, because they feel like it's a mockery. And, you know, I love to stand up and fight for you guys, but in the same sense, I'm not going to sit up here and fight where they point out 5 different things and I just got to tuck my tail and be like, oh, yeah, you're right. And, you know, even you, Dre, as you were getting into this whole post-grad thing, you know, I know my guy's out there like, okay, let me see what it is before I judge. And, you know, you were a harsh one. You were like, hey, I want to see what it is. I feel like you've eased a little bit, but you still got your guard up. You know what I mean?
I am openly very critical of the space. Openly, because of how it's run right at the top, and your experience in this space is solely based on what organizations you are in proximity to. Yes. So it's not like, you know, you go watch college basketball and your experience at a Division I basketball game is really not so different than your experience at an NAIA basketball game. The difference in experience is minimal, right? We're talking about differences between, the type of arena that you may be sitting in, but like the game itself and how the game is played is pretty much the same. That is not the case in the post-grad space. If you go up a level or down a level, there are drastic differences to the product that you're going to see, and even the behavior of coaches, and your experience around that space is totally based on you, on what you see. I think that was a positive with the event this year, is that the step up in the level of teams put on a much more professional environment, to where I think coaches got good evaluations.
Yeah.
Because, you know, there were high-level teams here playing each other. Your guys running sets, coaches coaching their kids the right way, kids playing hard and playing the right way. So I think coaches were able to come out. You mentioned the 14 coaches, but I think they were able to come out and get a good evaluation, you know, based on the kids that were out on the floor, because of the level of the teams that you had.
Hey, man, and let's jump right into that, man. You know, there were some teams that we didn't know about, and, you know, to be quite honest, we took a chance and were pleasantly surprised. And, you know, we both talked about this, man. Terra Prep from Canada, man, when you look at them in the lab line, you're like, man, this might not be pretty. But they play, you know what? They play Kentucky basketball, in my opinion. Like, when I looked at them, I was like, this is a Kentucky, Indiana type of team. You know what I'm saying? They could shoot the lights out. They're going to play team concepts. And I remember I was on court 1 and you were on court 2 actually watching them, and you text me saying, hey, man, this guy is not a bad coach. He runs some good sets. And I know when you say that, I automatically know. I said, oh, that's a good team set they run in. And it's some stuff you probably like to store in the back of your mind to say, hey, I would run that. You know what I'm saying? And, they had a couple players, as you said, some shooters, as well as some shifty guys as well to go with those sets. And, man, that makes it hard to guard, man, especially when you got a stretch four that can step out and knock it down. So that forces those back to the basket bigs to step out of their comfort zone. And then you're playing chess. You know what I'm saying? It's a chess game. What did you think?
That's what I liked about Terra Prep. I think they did play the strategy very well. They played the strategic game very well. They never panicked. They would get down, pretty big at times, 12 points, 15 points. Never panicked. You call a timeout, and I see coach on the board. They make his adjustment. The team comes out of a timeout, and they're making a 8-0 run, 8-2 run. So to me, that's just it shows me the confidence that the kids have in their coach, but also the confidence the coach has in the kids.
Yeah.
I thought both coach and players were very mature through the whole thing because, you had players that were barking at them because, they were from Canada and, saying little things, trying to get up under their skin. And those kids just play all the way through and knocked off a couple of really good teams. They have a point guard that doesn't turn the ball over, and they got guys around them that can score, in a variety of ways. So I thought they did a really good job. And like you mentioned, they do. They spread you out. They're going to pull those bigs away from the basket. They're going to make you defend. It's really tough to go zone because they shoot the ball so well from all 5 spots. Yeah. So it is. It's absolutely a strategic chess match every game when they're on the floor.
And one of the games that you pointed out, as a matter of fact, the game that you were watching was probably one of the best chess matches of the tournament was Southwest Ohio Prep versus Terra Prep. Now, I didn't get to see that game. That was the game that you text me about and was just saying, hey, both these coaches are coaching very well. And shout out to Rod at Southwest Ohio Prep going up against Terra Prep. And, both of them are playing chess, to your point of what you said. And, when you have that type of basketball, that's great team basketball. And what a lot of guys don't understand, a lot of time coaches are looking for this style of play to see how you fit as a niche in these systems, because a lot of times those are the type of sets that college coaches are looking at.
Yeah, Southwest Ohio Prep was another team that had a really good coach. Again, a guy that never panicked, up, down, coached his guys hard, made his team play hard the same way. They played the same way through the game. I love a team that when you look at the scoreboard, you can't really tell if they're winning or they're losing, right? The intensity is still there. They're still up. He did a really good job of getting guys in space and trusting guys to make plays off the bounce, right? He didn't keep them too constrained to a system, but they did. You could tell that they did have foundational things that they were trying to get done when they were on the floor. So it's something that you always like to see. Both of those teams did a really good job coaching and handling their kids.
Absolutely. Now, one of my favorite teams, and I say this with no shame, because of the way they play, when you come to play them, you better bring your lunch hat. And that's CBA. CBA plays hard. That's one of our monikers, that playing hard, like whether you lose or not, but you're going to earn this win. And that's the CBA. And shout out to JB and Greg and all those guys over there. Like, I love, like, whether they win or lose, you have to bring it like that. You're not just going to walk in and just walk over them. That's never going to happen. And to your point of what you said earlier, a lot of times, they can get down 10 or 15. I tell people all the time, this game is far from over with them because that team will get lax. They run off 8-9 points, and then got momentum. They got another steal that they may go down. The other team may go down and score. They then got 2 more points. Now it's a 3 or 4 point game, just like that. And that comes from them playing hard. And from jump ball to the time they're shaking hands, they going at it. And I love that type of mentality, that hard hat mentality. And, looking at CBA, that's why, love supporting them, because they're doing it the right way. They're playing a national schedule to get those kids looked at. They're playing in, the post-grad finales of Big Shots and Phenom. They go out to California and play in the Big California event in January. They play at Scott Golden's event down in Florida, which features 300 coaches. And shout out to Terra Prep, man, because of the way they play, Dre, they got an invitation to play this weekend in Florida, Scott Golden's event. Got in as a late ad, man. And, Coach sent me a text because I was like, when I talked to Scott, and Scott was like, what do you think? And I was like, they can play. They can shoot the lights out. So he went ahead and said, I usually don't do this. And he let them in, man. Hey, like I said, well earned. I didn't have nothing to do with that. I just gave him the stamp to say, yeah, those guys can play. They play good ball. And, Scott's a stickler. He doesn't want to see and one down there in front of 300 coaches. He wants to see teams that know how to play. Now, as we go into another team that was impressive, a new team that's only been up for 3 months, but Dre, they got a cheat code. They're from another basketball state. Del Prep from North Carolina, man. I love them guys. Those guys, I think in due time, in another year, they're going to be a real power. Watching them play, I was like, oh, yeah. I was like, yeah, that's North Carolina. I worked in North Carolina, so I was fortunate enough to see some North Carolina basketball. And, like I told you, with you being from Kentucky, like when I see North Carolina, Kentucky, and Indiana's, and I look at the style of basketball, but I think the difference between North Carolina, and it's no shot to Kentucky or Indiana, there's some athletes that go with that team ball like that. And I was like, oh, that's a dangerous combination. I think Kentucky and Indiana had the nod on the shooting. You know what I'm saying? Like when I think of Kentucky and Indiana, they got some shooters that, listen, if you don't have that hand out, or if you don't at least tip that ball, go get it out the net. Plain and simple. But with North Carolina, they have shooters, but they got them guys that are athletic, and they play that team ball. I was like, oh, this is scary. But with Del Prep, they're not quite there when I say elite post-grads, but they are definitely formidable. And looking at them, love the point guard. The point guard that played for the national team for Panama was tough. He was tough, man. I loved the way he played. And just looking at the way, matter of fact, 2 of their guys got offers after the first event, man, here in Georgia. They got offers, and man, shout out to them. And, they said, hey, we'll be back. And, Dre, you were fortunate enough to interview them. And I was impressed with their interview as well, man. That was one of my favorite interviews also.
Handled themselves really, really well. You mentioned a point guard, Isaac McCord, just a tough kid, listed at 6'1", but if you would have told me he was 6'3", right, I wouldn't have batted an eye, right? Like,
yeah.
And he's a tough kid, got a lot of craftiness to his game off the dribble, but he also, like, he attacks, like he gets after it. He gets, like he there's not a moment that I felt like he was on the floor and wasn't impacting the game, whether he was scoring or not. So they're very fortunate to have him. They got a couple other guys on their team too. They've got a big that looks promising as he continues to develop. They've got a kind of a tough wing player, kind of a do everything kind of kid, athletic as well. So they're definitely going to be, a team that I would continue to watch. I hope I get a chance to see them again. Maybe they'll be back in January.
Yeah, I hope so too, man. I'm definitely going to reach out and extend the invitation because, they belong. There's no question they belong. Sometimes you see teams and, it's no disrespect to anybody, like, okay, they're not quite ready or they're a couple players away. But, where we're trying to take this, we want to keep, increasing the talent level as well because, like I said, it was a great look to have Austin Peay out here. It was a great look for Indiana State to reach out to me. It was a great look for Mississippi State to reach out the first time I posted it, like, hey, what time? It was a great look. West Virginia State, great D2. Clayton State, shout out to Clayton State. Hey, for you guys that don't know about Clayton State, they're going to be up and coming with Coach Alexander and Coach Anthony down there doing some big things. And our guys as well down at Columbus State, shout out to Jalen and them that came and, represented as well. So, and of course, the JUCOs was out here trying to eat as well, Dre. The ones, that weren't playing in jamborees, they were down here with their little clipboards out like, who's that? Can we get them? You know what I mean? And I thought that was a good look as well. So we had a plethora because me, I'm an all-level guy. I'm not a D1 or bust guy because all these guys are not going D1. You know what I mean? And so with them not going D1, NAIs and D3s next year, I'm going to be on you just as hard. You need to come to these events because there are kids of your level as well. And I know there's a misconception to think, oh, these guys are only going D1 and D2. It's nonsense. Especially those really good NAIs and those really good D3s. Man, I was texting you, but back in March and April, I was fortunate enough to go to the D3 first and second round NCAA tournament. And, man, I was sitting up there when I seen Emory versus Wabash from Indiana. Hey, man, came down to the end. When we start talking about team ball, man, great game. Emory is a perennial D3 power here in Atlanta. They play in the storied UAA conference that rivals a lot of low majors. Like, they fly to every game. They fly to every game. As well, you've been in their facilities. The facilities are just as nice as a number of low majors as well. So, they put money into the program. You're getting a quality education. And me, I'm big on that because when this ball stops bouncing, is that degree worth anything? You know what I mean? And I want to continue to push this, even as we push this event. Man, it's not just pushing the sports side of it. It's pushing, hey, do you have your financial aid right? Do you have your FAFSA right? Because, again, everybody's not getting a full scholarship. And there's nothing wrong with that. But know how to work the system as well. You know what I mean? Like,
hey, everybody may not get a full scholarship, but everybody does get a full opportunity. So
absolutely, man.
Don't miss out on that opportunity. Because you're worried about a scholarship dollar amount. Don't get me wrong. The money, everybody makes a financial decision nowadays. Even like, it's impossible to live in this world today without having to make a financial decision about school, right? Like, it does need to be a return on of investment, and you are making a considerable investment most of the time because, let's just be honest, the majority of kids don't go to school completely free, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I would say the majority have something that they have to pay to make it work. And like you said, that's okay. Because, once you get outside of Division I, most of these schools are, splitting scholarships or doing whatever they have to do to kind of make the budget work and make the ends meet. So I would just tell kids, man, just, still be happy, be grateful for the opportunity, but also hold that school to a standard academically, not just when it comes to basketball. Hold the school to a standard academically because, like you said, your degree has to matter once you get done. So, make sure that you're asking academic questions, to the schools that are taking a look at you, or the schools that you're interested in. Make sure you're just not interested in, as CY would say, it's more than bushes and buildings.
And shout out to CY, definitely.
You can't take bushes and buildings with you. So make sure that when you go to a school, you're not just overwhelmed by the landscaping and how great all of these dorms and facilities look. Because when you leave, you don't get to keep those facilities. They stay with the school. You go home. So think about how well that degree is going to impact or advance your home life. So,
yeah. And that's one of the things, like down the line, I wanted to start working on workshops to help these parents, as well as just helping them get to the point of understanding more than just the basketball side of it. Because, a lot of times you have people, they're just looking at the name on the shirt. They're looking at the glitz and glamour. And to your point, when it's all over, what do you have to show? You don't have, you have that experience of coming on a visit. Sure, you'll never forget that. But at the end of the day, man, I just look at this and tell people time and time and time again, make sure you have a game plan when you go to these schools for that 4 or 5 year game plan and how you're going to execute it. Because, a lot of times we have kids that, once they sign that paper, they think everything else is just going to work itself out. It's not the case. Like, once you sign that paper, you should be researching, okay, what about my major? How am I going to get to this major by my junior year? What about my internship? Do they have opportunities for internship? What do they have? Do they have graduate level programs if I want to go to grad school? What is my plan? Is it a 4 or 5 year to get my degree, my bachelor's, or am I trying to stay 5 or 6 years to get a master's? All that plays a part in all this. And then when you ask a good majority of kids or parents, they haven't thought that part out. You know what I mean, Dre?
I'm going to be honest. A lot of times they don't think it out. And I'm going to tell the truth. Listen, if your child does not already have a NIL deal, if they haven't been approached already by Overtime or one of these other leagues to be a pro,
the G League, Ignite.
If you're not on the Draft Express draft board for your class, if you're not in that group of kids, and that's okay, right? If you're not in that group of kids, what I would say is don't make a basketball decision. I see so many of these guys that, man, they're fortunate if they get a Division II offer. Let's go outside of Division I. They're fortunate if they get a Division II offer. Trying to make a basketball decision and asking about facilities and all that other kind of stuff. Dude, you need to make an academic decision. You need to be trying to think about the next 40 years of your life and not just the next 4. And not to say that basketball is not important, but you need to be thinking about the next 40 years of your life.
Absolutely.
And if the basketball works out, if you get a chance to go to the league or go overseas, God bless you. But the majority, if you play the numbers, the majority will not. You're blessed to get that and to be able to play outside of your high school season, but you need to be making, when it comes to college, you need to be making a academic decision. And where's the best place to go and to complete your college education? That's what you need to be thinking about instead of, hey, how many fans y'all got in here, and making your decision based on that. I'm gonna say this: the job market is very tough nowadays. I would encourage, especially our young brothers and sisters, to pick majors in STEM.
Get into absolutely.
Technology, get into math, and set your course that way. and go out here and contribute. I would also encourage guys to think about trade school.
Well, let me stop you real quick. So a lot of these 4-year schools have trade and technical programs that people don't inquire about.
They never ask. Yeah. And it's, we talk about this thing, and there's this thing with now the key word is they want to make 6 figures. And I think people say that because they just they have a vision for what that means for their life. And I can tell you it's not really reality, but that's good. That's great. It's a great goal. But the plumber, the electrician, the carpenter, the guy that knows how to do heating and air conditioning, those are also 6-figure jobs.
Mm-hmm.
We don't think about that. Right? Yeah, those are 6-figure jobs. So when you go to school, it's okay to be a guy that works with his hands. Those are 6-figure jobs. Those are jobs where you can easily start your own business and work for yourself. But our kids have to start inquiring about those positions.
Absolutely. And I look at that. I just look at that from a standpoint of, people have to really understand what this is, man. Like, yes, basketball is an amazing opportunity and it can take you places you've never been before. But the thing that scares me so much about a lot of this is so many players of all backgrounds are putting all their eggs in one basket to say, I'm trying to go pro. And we're talking about less than 1%.
Hey, man, again, I'm going to be honest with you, right? Like, let's just have a moment of honesty. And I'm not saying, again, that you won't make it. What I'm saying is, if you look at life by the numbers, if you don't have an NIL deal already, if you're not ranked in your class already, the majority of the time the NBA knows about you going into college. You're already on the radar. Okay, right? Again, don't give up on your dream. Keep working. I'll be the first person to tell you, don't give up on your dream. Keep working, but make a sound decision.
Yes,
make a
absolutely.
sound academic decision. And as long as your academics are handled, your situation will be squared away. Now go get in the gym and work your butt off. Right? And whatever happens will happen from that point.
Well, man, let's talk. Man, I know we're getting off script on this, but the other big thing that just really takes me, there are other avenues in the basketball world besides just playing. Like, yes, you could be a coach, but nobody really explains that side as well. Like, hey, you could be a statistician. You can get into this if you want to get into recruiting. You can be a color commentator. You can be all of that. It's a situation where people have to understand, like, man, there's a larger market outside of just playing, and you're not a failure if you didn't go pro. Like, you have guys that take this and are in it for 35, 40 years doing different things inside of basketball. Now you have the degrees where you can get the degree in sports management, which helps you become a general manager or a coach or a director of basketball operations. And Dre, as you know, these Power 5 Dobos make good money.
Very money. Let's talk a new career that's popping up across college campuses is learning videography.
Yes.
Getting into videography, getting into graphic design, getting into art design. Right now, all the recruiting that is done for these major college campuses include digital media. So when the recruits come on campus, when they're hosting recruits, they're making videos. They're taking pictures. They got the spinning cameras, and everybody's up on the platform with the spinning camera doing their dances or whatever. There are videographers and graphic artists designing those shoots. Photography companies that make a lot of money by taking pictures for recruits when they come on campus. So there's no shortage of jobs around sports. There's anything that you could possibly think of. I mean, man, hey, I tell a kid that likes to cook. If you love to cook and you love basketball, what do you think is inside of all those big suites? They're chefs inside of those suites. There are no shortages of jobs around the game. If you see the game through the right lens, and basketball is your in. The love that you have for that game, no pun intended, is your into what could be a very lucrative business for you. If you look at it the right way. Again, make that academic decision for your future, take it seriously, and work your butt off, and you never know where you'll end up.
Absolutely, man. And I know we strayed off a little bit, but this was a great event that was had 2 weeks ago. But you and I both know our passion is seeing these kids be productive members of society. I never like to see the kid that's 10 years from now, he's on the street talking about, I used to give buckets. And you're still holding on to that because you haven't prepared yourself for life afterwards. And unfortunately, yes, some of these schools have to be held accountable as well. Like, there needs to be some exit interviews, and there needs to be like a mid-career plan. Like, by the time they get to year 2, like, okay, what are you trying to do? This is where you stand. If you don't do X, Y, and Z, this is going to happen, or you're not on track to graduate. Sure, some of these schools do a great job of that. Other schools, they pretty much just say, this is on you. If you take advantage, great. If you don't, when it's over, it's over.
A lot of schools, man. The best schools. I would say that a lot of schools have programs and stuff, and that sometimes people just don't know that they exist, right? Like,
yes,
I can thank, my son goes to Marietta High School. So Marietta City Schools does a really good job of constantly emailing us about, hey, we're doing college visits. Hey, this is college application day, and come fill out your college applications and we'll help you. So they do a really good job of staying on top of that stuff. But I also remember being in high school, and maybe because those emails weren't coming to me, but at Fern Creek, I felt like it wasn't there. Like, I had no idea what was going on, versus other schools. So I definitely see that what school you go to and how well the counselors and how engaged they are definitely matters. So, but to the kid that is like, hey, I'm not getting into that information from my school, reach out, talk to your counselors, get that FAFSA form filled out, my man. Get those college applications in, because now's the time to take care of that stuff while they're free, and start to hear back from those schools early.
And get them done early. Don't wait till March and April. Get them done now so you have a chance at some of that in-house merit money that is gone by usually November, December, because the early applicants have been accepted and they're going after that money and it's gone. Take advantage. By all means, take advantage. And, it's a situation like, yes, we've definitely got off course, but to be honest, this is more important than some highlights, if you just want to be honest about it. So anybody that watches this, listen, we have all of the highlights uploaded. We're going to throw them out on Twitter, but this is going to be something that, myself as well as Madre will continue to harp on, through his show, through my show. This is going to be important for you guys. Like, I know you guys came on here to see highlights. You'll get to see him on Twitter. Trust me, you'll get to see all of them. Madre's done a phenomenal job with the interviews. Shout out to Bonafide for catching some great highlights. And, like I said, this is going to be something that grows every year. But listen, people, it's getting real out here in this recruiting world. And a lot of you guys, and I know Dre's going to agree with this because we've talked about this. We talk about this all the time, to be honest with you. For you all that are 2023s, man, you need to be committed if you can before January 1st. Because when January 1st hits, they're going to be looking at the transfer portal, and y'all going to be at the back of the line until May, June, July, August. Plain and simple. Some of you all may get an offer August 2nd or August 8th. And sometimes that's because somebody flunked out of summer school. I hate to be the harsh bearer of bad news, but that's how some of you all are going to get on. And especially you guys that are borderline qualifiers, understand this. The lower your GPA is, the lower the possibilities you have to get recruited. I can't tell you, and Madre will definitely back this up, the first question they ask when they see somebody that they're interested in, what's his GPA? I'll take it even further. I was at Chris Watkins' event. Chris does a good job with his booklet. If you pull out the booklet, there was GPAs in there right there. And coaches were looking at them. So if I see a kid, number 42 looks like a good player. And unfortunately, I would never call out any names because, I'm not trying to kill a kid's spirit. The coach looked at the GPA, and it was between a 1.5 and a 2.0. He quickly turned the page. Quickly. Just as fast as he has interest, it was just as fast as it was gone when he went to look at his name. And for you guys, a lot of you guys that are talented, some of you are losing out on offers because the first thing the school says, he got to have a 3.0 or up. You don't have it, they got to move on. They don't even say, well, we'll make some concessions unless you're one of those top 100 guys. Say it again.
Yeah, I said, I was just agreeing with you, man. There's almost no concession at all.
Yes.
I turn the page.
They turn the page unless Kevin Durant or somebody like that is walking in the building. That's a 6'11" jump shooter that can do it all. Yeah, they may bend a little bit for that, but the rest of you guys that are, as we say in the recruiting world, sometimes a dime a dozen, you got two strikes against you because you're a 6'1" or below guard and you got a 2.4. How are you standing out? How are you standing out? And a coach will say, I've seen 15 of those in the last 3 days. And I don't have a need for that. So, one of the other things people, don't really pay attention to as well is the guys that are savvy enough to use their academic money, reach out to these coaches and say, hey, coach, I'd like to come walk on or be a preferred walk on. I have a full academic scholarship. Would you consider me? Do you know how many coaches would say yes because it costs nothing to their budget? Another opportunity that was created because they took care of business in the classroom.
I'm going to say this too. I think, and a little off topic, but I'm going to say this. After years of being an AAU director, talking to countless number of kids, very closely, right, with kids, with parents, with the amount of kids over the last 3 seasons that we've been able to help get into college. I'm going to say this one thing too, is that a lot of kids receive offers at the level, at the appropriate level. And they're just not taking them.
Yeah.
And it's making the market really tough and difficult for the kids who are fighting just to get an offer somewhere and to get their college career started. I would say to those kids, the NCAA has made it so painless, right? And so free flowing. Just commit and get your college career started. Commit and get started, right? And that's probably a bad thing to say on a post grad episode, but I just believe that some of these kids that are playing around with opportunities are hurting kids who actually really need the opportunities. There are kids that can blow up in post grad with the extra work and really get better. And you're just, some kids are just taken away from other guys' reps. Yeah. Like, just go to school, man. Go to school, commit, and those opportunities will be there. If you are the player that you believe that you are, then the transfer portal is there. And it's there for a reason. It was there to handle and to help with this very same problem. So you go from being the high school kid that's being looked over to being one of the portal kids that everybody is salivating over and really wants. But if you got a 4-year opportunity at a good school that has your major, so I want to make sure I say that, at a good school academically that has your major, you could build a future there. I don't hesitate to commit. Like, I don't understand, go ahead and commit, go to school. If you are the juice, as they say, if you're the juice, then that will show. And, you evaluate your ability to transfer after that. And I'm saying, when I say you're the juice, you're a freshman and you came in and averaged 15 a game as a freshman. If you did that, you're probably the juice as a freshman, and you'll probably have some opportunities to bump up or so. Or maybe the right thing to do is to stay and continue to dominate your level if ultimately you want to be a pro. If you want to be a pro, you got to have numbers. You can't transfer too high, right? You can go from, 15 a game and as a freshman at one level and then bump up in your sophomore year and you're at 6. Oh, so you went up a level, but you hurt your numbers and you hurt your chances to be a pro because you hurt your numbers by transferring. So you got to think about that too, of if you're performing well, you may want to stick it out and just get your degree and put up great numbers, because that is your basketball resume and you will need that, to be a pro, whether it's overseas or in the States.
Absolutely, man. And, I want to thank everybody for, just being patient. This is something that's just on our hearts. And, again, highlights, we got you. Highlights and interviews will be on Love the Game Twitter page. It'll be on Hoops Hidden Gems Twitter page. It'll be on Madre Allen's page. It'll be on David Jones's page. You will get your chance. We will tag you guys.
I'm here for the highlights, man. We can play them if you want.
You want to play them? You can play them. We can play them. I ain't going to tease. We'll play a little bit. Let's go ahead and play some. Hold on. Let me go ahead and get it popping here. Hold on. Let's see here.
I don't want nobody fighting me out in the streets.
So the first highlight we're going to show is one of the first games of the tournament was Del Prep versus Piney Woods. Shout out to my guy Thomas Carr over at Piney Woods. They run a great program. They're putting kids in school. They play a national program. One of the few post grads that have dormitories. And I had some history when I had Thomas on the show. It's a HBCU, basically an all-black post grad. I had never heard of that before. So when I started to look up Piney Woods, I was like, oh, wow. I almost feel like I was in a shell somewhere, because sometimes when you're from other areas, sometimes history doesn't make it to your neck of the woods, quote unquote. And this was a situation when you look up Piney Woods, you're like, oh, wow, I've never heard of this before. This is interesting. But getting back to Thomas and Yusef run a great program over there. Shout out to Yusef Fitzgerald, good guy as well. Both friends of the show. We support them. And, let's go ahead and run this real quick, Dre. We'll go ahead and run this. Let's see here. So this is Dale Prep versus Piney Woods. That was Dale Prep that scored right off the tip ball. Dre, as I said, they play that Kentucky, Indiana style of ball, as you can see. But Piney Woods has some players. This kid right here has a number of offers. He can play. He can definitely play. He's Royal Brown. He has Seton Hall, Dre. He has Seton Hall, and he had Southern Illinois just came up there to see him practice at Piney Woods the other day. Number 5 for Dale Prep is the point guard that played on the Panama national team. And as you can see, Dre, they have those clips. Piney Woods was more athletic, just a little tad. But as you can see right here, what I tell you, Dre, you got the stretch forward that can knock down the 18-footer. And like I said, my guy right there, he's going to be a player. Him and number 1 for Piney Woods are definitely players. That's Austin, if I'm not mistaken. Austin's a player as well, and I think he's an underrated one as well. But, man, like I said, looking at Dale Prep, this was a great game that came down to the end. Dale Prep won, I think it was 88-84, great game. And, in looking at this, man, like those guys were coming to play, both teams. Played great games, and shout out to both of them as well, man. I was looking at that like, ooh, they got some juice, bro. Both of them got some juice, and it was the first game. Look, I was at the scorers table like, oh yeah, we gonna play like this all day. We in for some great games. And to be honest, the other thing I was proud of was, a lot of times there's the stigma attached with playing on court 2. And there was some great games on court 2. Matter of fact, you saw the Terra Prep versus Southwest Ohio game on court 2, man. And I wanted people to understand that, listen, at the end of the day, there was coaches over at court 2 watching. That was the thing I loved about the coaches that came. Sometimes there's a stigma to say, oh, we're going to only watch the main court. Nah, they was over there on court 2, lined up right at the door watching. I was like, okay. So the opportunity was there to be seen on court 2 as well. Now, one of the games that people came to talk about was TSF National, who boasts multiple D1 style prospects. And, we know Rob does a great job over there at TSF, as well as TSF Global does a great job as well. But it was the new kid on the block, which was Supreme Prep. And they're trying to earn the name. And, they played TSF down to the end. Probably one of the most athletic games and high-level games that we could talk about. So I'm going to go ahead and run this one as well. This was a good game as well here, Dre. So this is TSF National versus Supreme Prep. Supreme Prep, they had some shooters that could launch from deep as well. There's the big fella, Sean Rutledge, putting it down. He has a number of schools looking at him. Some of the JUCOs were salivating over him. You'll definitely see him at a probably top 25 JUCO next year. The 7-footer for TSF, multiple D1s looking at him. I look at him as, with some more development, he'll be a good player. Of course, TSF is always good at the guard play. but Supreme didn't back down at all. So they played tough, and it came down to the end, and really it came down to the last 2 minutes. To be honest with you, it was a great game. Both teams were going at it back and forth. There's big fella again. Motor it down, big fella. And again, the guard play at TSF. I mean, man, that was probably the difference in the game was the guard play. Supreme they were big with the front court, which gave TSF problems. But this right here, the guard play and the shooting was phenomenal for TSF. And it was shout out to both of them. There's another prospect, Jelani Reynolds. He'll be good at 24 prospect. He did his thing as well. He had a good tournament, man. He played pretty good, as you can see, knocking down the three. And, like I said, it was TSF right there shooting high percentage shots, man, that really got them the game, man. And, congratulations to TSF. And congratulations to Supreme because, they played a tough game and people thought that they were going to get ran out the gym, but they stuck around. And it was just one of them things with more experience, they could probably be a force to play with down the line. What were your thoughts on TSF National?
Really good team. They played like a Rob Johnson coach team. Floor stays balanced. They play, of course, into the big kid out of the post, but they do have those guards there that can play. I like that Rob plays inside out. So
yeah,
they get it in, they wear you down, and then those guards kind of take over and pick you apart. EJ Smith being one of the lead guards there for TSF. We saw him knock down a couple of threes. He's a kid that has a Memphis offer, a lot of hype around that kid. So it'll be interesting to watch him develop and how Rob continues to handle that team. I've been able to watch him a couple of times. So, but they run good stuff. A team that's real easy to evaluate because they run good stuff and play the right way. But I feel like they can do it to you either way. They can play fast, they can knock down shots and spread you out, or they can slow the game down with the big fella and get the ball inside and try to kind of manage the game that way.
Absolutely, man. Now the next highlight, man. I just wouldn't be fair without playing this because I was just so impressed with them, man. Was Terra Prep, man. I wanted people to get a look at Terra Prep who haven't got a chance to see them. And you'll hear that name a lot more because you'll see them in Atlanta. You'll see them in Florida. You'll start to see them a lot more. So I'm going to go ahead and play Terra Prep's highlights as well. And when you look at these guys, you're thinking, okay, we're going to see. And this guy right here, Dre, this is the guy you texted me about that was Shifty. I like him.
Shifty. Xavier Howard.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Looking like Kenny Anderson.
Yeah, he could play, man. He could play. Like I said, people like when it was over with, it was him and the other shooter from Terra Prep. And like I said, the team play was really good. I liked them, and man, a number of those guys can shoot, man. You see how they kick it out. Again, like I said, they're playing that 4 out and 1 driver, man. You gotta respect it because if you don't, it was 3 all day. You know what I'm saying? And it was just one of those things where people have to understand. They were running great sets. If you played the line, they were driving to the bucket. And when somebody rotated over, there was a backdoor cutter and they was kicking it. And as you can see, numerous layups, numerous. And it was impressive to see them break down defenses like that. And you saw guys over there on the other side cursing like, man, what is going on? What are y'all doing? And I was like, hey, man, those are good sets. I was like, that's honestly something you need to take into the film room and practice. When you haven't played a team like that, that's hard to prepare if you just come out there and say, okay, let's get it. We're just going to match up, and you've never seen it before. Like, you might get ate alive like that playing a man because you don't know that they have 4 good shooters like that, and they have a driver, as you say, one of those shifty guards. Matter of fact, outside of the Southeast Postgrad Showcase, they have the one shooter, Dre. He had 48 points off of 14 threes.
Yeah.
14 threes. And North Pole Hoops, shout out to North Pole Hoops, has him slated as one of the top shooters in Canada. I was like, Jesus. I was like, well, yeah, if you're knocking down 14 threes, and it wasn't he was out there gunning. Dre was 14 to 18, bro.
Catch and shoot. No, I'm watching how they play. The thing with that team is if you can't stop Xavier Howard on the ball, it's tough to beat a team when their point guard can consistently get 2 feet in the paint and you can't turn them over. Absolutely. And that's what Xavier Howard was able to do. He was able to consistently get 2 feet in the paint without turning the ball over very much. So even if you were able to stop what they were trying to run, then it's Xavier Howard either just off the bounce or in a ball screen, and now you have to deal with him. And the fact that he could finish with either hand or kick out to one of those deadly shooters, it's tough to stop, along with the fact that they're running great stuff. So it's like, okay, we stopped their action. Now I got to deal with this joker in a ball screen. You know what I mean? Getting downhill on me, and he just knows how to make really good decisions out of it as well.
And man, one of the other things I have to say as well, to be honest, Xavier Howard, college coaches, if you're listening right now, and if you're going to be in Florida, I'd say take a look at him. The only knock on Xavier Howard is he's an undersized guard. If he was 6'2" or 6'4", we wouldn't even be having this conversation right now at all. No, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
No. And, he's going to have to get in college, get on a college weight program. He's going to have to eat. He's going to have to eat, as CY say, he's going to have to eat a few Whoppers and do some push-ups. He's going to have to put some weight on that frame. But, I mean, super shifty with the ball. Yeah. And he can shoot it. He reminds me a little bit of not quite as polished because the difference in the weight room. But if you remember the point guard from Spire last year.
Oh, yeah. And where did he ended up on D1, right?
Yeah, he plays in the MAC conference. I think he went to Ohio University or Akron. I have to look him up.
Either Ohio or Akron, yeah, something like that.
But played in the MAC conference. He reminds me a lot of Xavier Howard. Reminds me a lot of that kid. Yeah. Can shoot it, can handle it. Can finish with either hand. Really polished kid. Just needs to get in a college weight program. Needs to be able to understand how to use his skill set in a college system. That's where I would say the Spire kid was above him because he was so boom, 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 right. This read, that read, that. Like he executed at such a high level. I think Xavier Howard still has some room to grow with that, but played really, really well.
Man, and the other thing that was underrated, Dre, was his decision making. Like you said, he didn't turn it over much, but he found the open guy as well. So, yes, when he went to the basket, he was looking to score, but he was also dishing very well. And that's what was impressive about him. To me, he's like that prototypical combo guard.
Yeah, not to tell anybody what level he is, because I don't claim to know, right? I'll leave that to you guys. The evaluators tell me what level he is, but definitely a college player. We'll say that. If I had to say, hey, what is his superpower? Again, it's tough to keep him out of the paint. And when he gets to the paint, he's not always looking to score. So to me, that's a superpower for a point guard. If I can get paint touches without turning the ball over, my team is probably going to win. and he gave them a chance to win in every game when they stepped on the floor because of that.
Absolutely. And to go along with those catch and shoot shooters, man, that, as you can see, can knock it down. That was a tough team. That was definitely a tough out, man. And they played well. So shout out to Terra Prep, man. I really like them, man. Definitely like them. Let's see. Next guy. Oh, man. Dre, this guy, I don't know if you got to see CBA play. This guy was a high riser. Definitely high riser. Matter of fact, before I even play him, man, oh my goodness, Dre. This guy, I think you were over on the other court, but as you can say, he has some wings for real. He had some, he was definitely impressive, man. I really like this kid. He has him as number 10, but it's definitely not the right guy looking at his name. So I'm not even going to mess his name up looking at the roster. But Dre, take a look at this right here, man. This guy was a riser for real. Definitely a riser. Here you go. I was like, man, who is this? If I'm not mistaken, no, that name's still not right as I look at it. So I don't even want to guess at his name. So here we go. Bam. Take a look at this guy right here, Dre. Yes, sir. I'm telling you. He was a riser for real, but he could pull up on you, as you can see.
That's tough. Hey, coaches, you got to get on line one, man. You got to go ahead and offer that guy.
I'm telling you. Like,
I need my HBCU coaches on line one. You need him.
Dre, I'm telling you, like, he was a scorer. He was an athletic scorer. And I was like, man, who is this kid? Like, he got out. When he got out, like, all those teams that play, like TSF Global, Terra Prep, didn't really have an answer for this guy. But, man, this dude
I gotta get Coach Hughley. I gotta get Coach Hughley at Alabama A&M on line one, and maybe Coach Matlock on line two at Alabama State, because,
man, I'm telling you. But, you know, Thomas and them do a great job, and they said he's getting some interest. So, and I told Thomas, I see why. I definitely see why. He goes to the bucket tough. He can pull up. He plays good defense. And like I said, man, the CBA was throwing lobs all day to him, and he was going to go catch him.
Hey, and I can tell how well his leaping ability is because his teammates are putting those lobs all over the place. Like, they're just throwing it.
Well, definitely, man. I'm telling you, he's tough, man. I liked him. He's definitely tough. He was one of those guys I looked at that had definitely, he would have been a all-tournament team guy. Definitely, man. When I saw him, and the first oop that you saw, man, I was at the scorer's table like, oh, who is that? I mean, because the first one he caught, like, looking from the other angle, Dre, he was up high when he caught that one. And as they say from an evaluator standpoint, he has that elite athleticism. Definitely that elite athleticism. And like, even on defense, he used that. Like, guys was trying to pull up for jumpers, man, he was catching that like, give me that. No, absolutely not. Not on my watch. So to your point, A&M, a State, man, even some other D1s could use a guy like that, because Dre, he's a legitimate 6'3", 6'4". Legitimate.
Gotta wonder what Mo Williams is doing over at Jackson State. Mo, you might want to make a call, my guy. That might be a kid that you might want to try and go get.
And he's in Mo's backyard, because Piney Woods is, what, 20 minutes outside of Jackson?
Goodness.
So, you know, that was one of those things. And, you know, we always want to show love. You know, I definitely want to show TSF love as well. because Jalen from Chicago was a player. As you know, as we talked about with their guards, man, we're going to run this highlight of Jalen from Chicago. What's Jalen's last name? I have to look it up. But Dre, real time dude right here. Definitely a great guard that people need to pay attention to. Here you go, right here. I like this kid right here, Dre. Dribble right into his J. Bingo. Not afraid to give it up. And TSF guards, man, like I said, they were the difference, man. A lot of those 2-3 guards, they could play, man. And I see you, Big John, trying to do your thing. Okay.
Look at John climbing up on the rim.
Hey, man, John's gotten a lot better, man, since we saw him 2 years ago. He's gotten a lot better.
John Carroll is who we're talking about for TSF.
Yeah. John, again, like John was filling those lanes and he was eating. Why was he eating? Because the guards were creating so much and they were drawing so much attention. And John was just right there to take advantage every time, whether it was a putback or a quick drop off to him. And he was doing exactly what he was supposed to do, like right there. You know, those guards were making a living off that pick and roll. And if it wasn't off a pick and roll, they were getting jumpers, tough shots like that. They were going to the basket, spin move, thank you, drop off, bam. So, no, that, you know, very well coached team. And, you know, I got to give Global credit, man. Those guys are tough. Matter of fact, Global has 2 guys that have offers, D1 offers as well. And I look at John, I think a D2 will definitely pick up John, definitely. But great guard play, you know, and that was the Global team. And the Global team is not that far off of the national team because Rob had told me that the national team only beat the Global team by either 2 or 4 in the scrimmage. So they have 2 really good teams, man. So shout out to TSF. You know, that's one of the things, as we talked about earlier, we want to see more of the TSFs, the CBAs, the Supremes, and other post-grads in Atlanta start to take that big step forward to put Atlanta post-grad basketball on the map, because I think that's really the last piece that makes us a complete state on the basketball scene. And, you know, I'm wishing everybody the best, and I hope it does happen, but we have to keep pushing. And now, Dre, the next big move is Moravian is here in Atlanta as well. Moravian moved from North Carolina down here to Atlanta. Their prep is here this year. The post-grad will be here next year. They're training out of Core 4, so, you know, they'll be exciting to watch as well. And I just think in all due time, we'll have something solid because you know as well as I know, man, these post-grads and these preps are picking Atlanta off. And, you know, at some point we got to be able to say we have something just as high quality here in Atlanta. I mean, don't get me wrong. Yes, we have the Wheelers, we have the Pebblebrooks, we have the Graysons, we have the Newtons. You know, we have some top level high school programs, but prep wise, we're still getting to that elite status. And I look forward to seeing that, man. And for you people that don't know, our dates are already set for next year. September 22nd through September 24th at Central Gwinnett High School, 2023. We're going to try and make this another big event as usual. We have some sponsors that we're working on closing out on to make the event even better. And listen, we got Love the Game Network supplying some of the great footage as well. We'll have Bonafide and some other people on the court as well. Just like we did this year. And we're going to keep taking this thing, and we want to expand not just the quality of the tournament as far as the players. We want to expand the experience as well. We want this to be not just one of the top events post-grad wise in Georgia. We want this to be a pillar nationwide. Any closing comments, brother?
No, man. I'm happy to be a part of it. Thanks for allowing me to be a part of it. Appreciate all the teams for stopping by the media room for their interviews. It was a great time. I really enjoyed it. So can't wait to do it again. So I'll be there in January. Look forward to next September. Hope we get another chance to do it and do it well.
And to your point, January 21st and 22nd will be the Atlanta Postgrad Showcase here in Atlanta as well. Dre, is there anything from a Love of the Game that's going on that you want to put out there?
We've got a couple of interviews that are coming that we're getting ready to release. So we do have an interview with Rob Johnson talking about his background. Rob, played for Norfolk State and was a part of the Norfolk State team that beat Missouri in the NCAA tournament. So, my affinity and my love for HBCU. So that interview is something that I'm looking forward to. We also have the HBCU Sports Spotlight show that is set to premiere this Friday with Cam Daly. So looking forward to Cam bringing some real talk to the HBCU space, kind of talking about things that happen behind the scenes and things that also happen directly, but great conversations with guys that graduated from HBCUs and have gone to do great things in life. So those are two great things that are coming down the pipe from Love of the Game.
Absolutely. And for those post-game interviews that Montre Allen did on Love of the Game Network, they will be on the Love of the Game Network Twitter page, as well as the Hoops Hidden Gems Twitter page. So pay attention tonight, tomorrow, and the rest of this week. You'll see some of them starting to drop. And we just want to thank you guys for your support as always. Listen, this is episode number 63. It was a special edition from the Southeast Postgrad Showcase. Next week, we'll be back in full-fledged. We're back on the grind again as usual. We'll have 3 good coaches on the show, so I'm looking forward to it. So until then, you guys take care. I want to thank everybody for being a part of the show, and we'll be back as usual next Monday. Okay? You guys take care.